some of the strangest inventions in human history, they might feel just as boring and normal as electricity does to us right now. Now, I know what you're thinking. What you're about to see, it's going to sound like pure science fiction. But here's the thing. Every single concept is actually an extension of real science that's happening in labs today. This isn't some fantasy. It's a potential roadmap for what everyday life could look like a century from now. A future that, honestly, might become far stranger than most of us can even imagine.
So get ready for a world where a replacement heart, yeah, it could be printed on demand, using your own cells.
A world where a living, digital copy of your own body warns you about sickness before you even feel it.
Picture a civilization that plugs directly into the stars for what is essentially limitless energy.
We're talking about cities that aren't just concrete and steel anymore. No, they're more like complex, living systems that can actually heal their own wounds.
Imagine homes where the walls themselves literally pull fresh, drinkable water right out of thin air.
And kitchens where food isn't just cooked but actually created from scratch. Now look, these concepts, they aren't just gadgets. They're the real building blocks of a brand new kind of civilization. So let's dive into the technologies that are set to redefine our lives, and we're going to start with the most personal revolution of all, the one happening inside our own bodies.
For pretty much all of human history, healthcare has been reactive, right? We get sick, and then we go look for a cure. But the goal in 2126? It's radically different. It's about making disease and decay, well, almost obsolete.
Just think about it for a second. Right now, our system for replacing a failing organ, it's a brutal lottery. Literally thousands of people die every single year just waiting. And even if you're one of the lucky ones, what's your prize? A lifetime of harsh drugs just to trick your own body into not rejecting a foreign piece of tissue. It's just not a great system.
But that whole reality, it could become a relic of the past. The U.S. Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health, that's ARPA-H, is funding a program called PRINT. And its mission is to develop the tech to 3D print fully functional, personalized organs. We're talking hearts, livers, kidneys, and the key part is they'd be made using a patient's own cells. So here's the crucial point. This would mean the end of waiting lists and the end of immune rejection. A perfect match, every single time.
And this leads perfectly into the next huge leap. What if we could stop disease before it ever truly begins? Well, agencies like the NIH, the NSF, and the FDA are all supporting research into what are called biomedical digital twins. Okay, so imagine this, a living computational model of you, constantly being fed with your health data. It's like an invisible guardian that could predict your risk of a heart attack years in advance, or simulate exactly how you'll react to a new medicine before you ever take a single dose.
So, as we start to master our own biology, we're going to need to master our environment on a planetary scale too. And that conversation, it has to start with energy. It's the absolute lifeblood of civilization.
So what makes this idea so revolutionary? Well, it solves the single biggest problem with solar power here on Earth. The sun isn't always shining, right? Space-based solar power puts these massive solar arrays up in orbit, where they can soak up sunlight 24/7. No clouds, no nighttime. Then, that energy is safely beamed down to a receiver on the ground as microwaves, giving us constant, clean power day and night.
Now, a recent NASA report confirms that, the engineering challenge is immense, but the science itself is totally sound. And in fact, get this, in 2023, researchers at Caltech actually did it. They achieved the first ever beaming of solar power from a satellite in space all the way back down to Earth. Okay, it was a tiny amount of energy, but it proved the principle. And in 2126, that tiny spark could become the powerhouse for our entire planet.
Hey, real quick, if this kind of look into our potential future is something you're enjoying, it would be a huge help if you could support me with a like and a follow. It really does help me keep creating this kind of content. Okay, so with our power source secured, let's bring that incredible cosmic scale back down from orbit to the world that's right here around us. Because the goal isn't just to power our cities and homes, it's to transform them into living, self-sufficient systems. Just imagine a bridge or a tunnel or even a building that can heal its own wounds. That is the science of self-healing concrete. What researchers are doing is embedding concrete with dormant bacteria. So when a tiny crack forms, air and water seep in, and that wakes the bacteria up. They start this metabolic process that produces limestone, which then hardens and seals the crack from the inside out. So our infrastructure, it literally becomes more like a biological organism.
And that kind of biological intelligence, it extends to our most basic needs too. I mean, what if you could solve water scarcity with a technology that's an incredible 45 times more energy efficient than older methods?
Well, a groundbreaking paper in Nature Communications details a new way to do just that. Harvest water from the atmosphere. Instead of boiling water out of the air, which takes a ton of heat, this technique uses high-frequency ultrasonic vibrations to literally shake water molecules loose. The leap in efficiency is so profound that it could make it possible for a window pane or a wall in your home to become a constant source of fresh, clean water.
And finally, let's talk about food. Research highlighted by the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization is looking deep into something called precision fermentation. So this process uses microorganisms in a small home bioreactor. You can just think of it as a countertop biofactory to produce specific proteins, fats, and flavors. So instead of a supermarket, you could just synthesize the building blocks of your food, perfectly tailored to your nutritional needs, right there in your own kitchen.
So what does all of this really mean? I mean, what happens to daily life when these technologies that once seemed completely impossible become so integrated, so normal, that we just stop thinking about them?
Well, it means our entire relationship with the fundamentals of life is completely transformed. Healthcare shifts from treating sickness to predicting and preventing it. Our cities stop being passive structures and start actively maintaining themselves. The daily anxieties we have about getting food and water, they're just automated away. And our entire civilization is powered by a practically infinite source of energy from space. It's a total rewrite of the rules.
But you know, the truly strangest part of living in 2126 might not be the existence of any of these incredible inventions. It might just be that people, surrounded by these daily miracles, will eventually stop even noticing how miraculous their world really is.
So I have a question for you. Which of these inventions do you think people would take for granted first? A printed heart? A self-healing bridge? Or maybe a wall that just makes its own water? Let me know what you think down in the comments.